purpose is it that we must meditate on this body as elements? Why? Because concept, conventional truth, brings along with it a lot of suffering. When we grasp on concept, thinking, it produces a lot of pain to the mind. So there are times when we need to develop the mindfulness, awareness, to see beyond concepts. Now I'll give you the example of why it is so. Now what monks is the attachment to the body suffering? Because monks, the body is painful by nature. Therefore, attachment to the body that is painful is suffering. Now that is the opening verse of the Buddha, that the attachment to this body. Now when we recognize this body, and we are so attached to this body, we don't want to be fat, or we don't want to be thin, or we don't want to look this way, we don't like a fat nose, we don't like our hair, because it's bristly, it's sort of like hay, not soft and shining. We sort of very attached to this body. And once you see the body, recognize your body as it belonging to me, you put concept into it as belonging to me, then it brings a lot of pain. Now that is when we practice meditation, we develop the mindfulness to detach our mind, to see the body as the body. And when the body feels the pain, the mind is free from pain, because the mind recognizes the body as just the body. So in this way, we practice detachment, makes our mind habitual, develop the habitual tendencies of recognizing that the body is just the body. When there is this hardness, or when there is this cold, now if we were to recognize it as, okay, there's just the heat element, then you watch it. Okay, heat element, heat element, heat element. The mind is very peaceful. But if you recognize it, ayo, my body is sweating so much, I don't like the sweat, then you get angry. And if you recognize that, ayo, my leg is so painful, if you keep on becoming more and more pain, what happens? I cannot walk. So you can't meditate because you're attached to your leg. You're attached that if my leg become numb, then there is no blood flow. What happened? They become paralyzed. So there is attachment to the body that brings fear, brings sorrow. As the Buddha says, if you attach to the body, which a lot of time, it is not the truth. Nobody has ever got paralyzed by meditation. Can you point to someone who become paralyzed because he meditates? No. There's something wrong with his body, not because he meditates. We experience a lot of fear, a lot of agitation, a lot of sadness, because we are so attached to the body as a conventional truth. But if you bring the mind to the higher level, to see the body as the body, they're made up of the elements, then the mind is free from fear, then is free from suffering. What then is this body? Which there's one seeker of the truth who approached the Buddha. Then he says that this body is me, this body is mine, this body is I. Then the Buddha says, then this body, will the body grow old? They say yes. Will the body get sick? They say yes. Will the body decay? They say yes. When the body dies? They say yes. Then is it happiness or sorrow? Then he look at the Buddha. They say it is sorrowful when we are sick. It's sorrowful when we experience old age, when we can't see clearly, we can't eat properly, we can't hear properly, we have cataract. It is sorrowful. Then the Buddha says, then why do you call the body your body? Why are you attached to the body for? Now, when you attach to the body that is full of pain, then it is painful for the mind when it is attached to it. When you know that the fire is burning and you go and touch the fire, would you get burned? You will get burned because you know that the fire burns. So would you touch the fire? You will not touch the fire. You will be detached from the fire. You will stay away from the fire. So in the same way, when we learn to meditate, this wisdom meditation, we learn to see the body as the body, nothing else. And we learn to have that detachment to the body. Once you are detached from the body, then you could have a lot of peace. No matter what happens to the body, you would have a lot of peace and happiness because the mind would not be affected by what is happening. Now the example is, now what is this aging? Is aging or when we lost our strength, our vitality, attractiveness, our beauty, when we become dependent on people to take us around, to change our shirt and so forth, then of course, that is a lot of suffering, right? Or what is decaying? Well, decaying is when our senses are decaying. Decaying, we can't hear all these things, can't eat properly. What is sicknesses? A lot of body pain, diabetes, heart problem, and so forth. And what is dying? When it comes to a time, our body cannot bear the weight anymore. Growing old, it's not strong anymore, the parts is collapsing, then that is death. Now if we are attached to the body, we do not want to die, then it do cause a lot of mental pain. When we fear death, because we are attached to this body, we do not want this body to decay. And sometimes people ask me this question, which is very strange. He says, Brother Jim, Buddhists, they cremate when they die, sort of burn the body. So I say, well, it is clean, a lot of Buddhists do that. Then he say, will it be very painful? But I say the body is already, it's like a block of wood. There's no more senses anymore. It's just a block of wood. Then where do pain come from? Only when you feel there is pain. But you don't feel anymore, right? Because there's no more mind. And the body, no more senses, no body senses. So there's no more pain. But still, there's fear. I say, when I die, I want to be buried, not burnt. It's still fear, because so attached to the body. Attached to the body. So, attached to our own body, attached to external body, which the Buddha says, when we recognize the external body as our loved ones, as our parents, or spouse, or brothers and sisters, and or children, and when they pass away, it causes great pain to our mind because we recognize the body as our loved ones. But the fact is, the body is just the four great elements. When they pass away, the body is just the body. But people pine, a lot of sorrow because the loved one passed away. So if you reflect, if we practice mindfulness and we develop strong mindfulness to see things as they are, then our mind is free from pain as we recognize all things that comes together will one day fade away. Just as we constantly watch our elements that comes and go. The air elements rising, falling, rising. When it rises, it falls. When it falls to the bottom, it rises again. It has its nature of just rising and falling. Just as our other element, our heat element, when it becomes very hot, then the sweat comes out. Then the body becomes cold again after the sweat comes out. So it arises, it passes away. So all these elements are constantly arising and pass away. It is not staying all the time. So what is there to cry on something that is a universal nature of the body? It just rises and it just passes away. Now just as there are people who are very attached to youth, and when they grow old, they lament, they regret, they remorse, they become bad temper because they don't like growing old. And so the film stars, for example, they depend a lot on their youth and beauty. And so when they're growing old, they become a lot of distress. So they go for operation and operation and operation. And finally, their face is no longer their face anymore. The whole face change because they cut here, cut there, cut everywhere. They want a sharper nose, they want a bigger eye, and they want a longer ear maybe, and so forth. They want a double chin. Very soon, the whole face change because they hold on to the body, to the youth. So it costs them a lot of pain when they hold on to something that cannot be hold on to. It's the nature process. Now we develop this mindfulness is to see the nature process of this mind and body. And when you are able to see this process, then your mind is free from pain. You sort of recognize it. You sort of accept it. They are growing old. Okay, that you grow old gracefully. There's a lot of things you can't do when you grow old. Okay, that's it. You can't do it because you're growing old. That's all. So, the practice of meditation, when you develop this awareness and you recognize the nature of things, then you have wisdom to deal with your mind. There are things that you need to accept. There are things that you need not accept. And a lot of things that is nature that you need to accept. For example, the arising and the disappearing. For example, the death of yourself, the death of your loved ones. These are natural things that happen. Now, in this meditation, as we meditate every day, as we see this nature of change, and whatever happens externally that changes is part of nature that do not affect your mind. And so you become peaceful among those who are not peaceful. You become peaceful among those who hate. You become peaceful and happy among those who are sad. Because you're not affected by this object. How do mind arise? The mind arises because of this object contact and your sense base. That's where the mind arises. And this object has a great influence on our mind. Every day the things we see, smell, taste, touch. And if we come into contact with these objects that are pleasant, it gives us a lot of happiness. If we sit down, have a nice breakfast, give us a lot of joy to have nice days. Or we see something beautiful, it gladdens our mind because it's nice to see. And these objects that gives us a lot of happiness can also give us a lot of pain when these objects are unpleasant objects that we don't like to see, smell, taste, or touch. So it affects our mind. So only when we recognize it as internal form, external form, recognize it as internal body, external body, then our mind will not be affected. And one way of doing it is to meditate. There's no other way, which the Buddha say, there's only this one and only way to overcome suffering. It's develop that mindfulness, the awareness. When things arises, when it touches your senses, then you know. When anger arises, then you know, unpleasant object, unpleasant object, unpleasant object. When somebody says something you don't like to hear, unpleasant sound. And if you were to practice element, then you say air element, air element, air element. It's only sound. And if you practice the mind, if you practice the sense door, then you say it is hearing, hearing, hearing. It is just hearing. The nature is just hearing. But if it is unpleasant, it's just your concept that it's unpleasant. He's scolding me. Actually, it is just sound, hearing. And if you have ill will in your mind, then you recognize as anger in the mind that arises. And then you watch it, then it disappears. Then the anger disappears. Now, if you are mindful, if you see this process of what makes up your mind, how these things condition for the arising of your unhappiness, your pain, suffering, and if you are able to see it step by step, then you can stop it any way you like. You can stop it at the object, just unpleasant sound. You can stop it at your ear, door, it's just hearing. Or you can stop it in your mind. It is just ill will. If you look at it, ill will, anger, it arises because of object. And when you watch it, then it dies off, it disappears. It only belongs when you hold on to it. When you create more objects in your mind. Now these objects that you hear touches the mind, it has dies off. But your mind create objects in your own mind. Why he say that? Why should he say that? I never do anything to him. Why he do that? Why must he say that to me? Now, you're creating more objects in your mind. The object that is external has died off. But you create internal object, mind object. And that prolong your suffering, your mental pain. He say 2 words, but your own mind say 2,000 words. He only hurt you 2 times, 2 words. But you hurt yourself 20,000 times by repeating the same words in your mind again and again and again and again until you can't sleep, until the next day also the words still in your ear, still in your mind. Why? Because you're not mindful. Because you do not know how to let go. Meditation teaches you that. Meditation teaches you, the mindfulness teaches you to recognize it. And when it is rubbish, to let it go. Don't you think we should throw rubbish away and not putting a lot of rubbish in your mind? Just as your house, you have a clean house. Would you like to take all the rubbish thing into your house? No, you sweep it out. You clean it, you mop your house. Because it's nice to stay in a clean house. The same in your mind. It is nice to stay when you have a clean mind. Then you have a very comfortable mind. When your mind is clean, free from agitation, free from all these remorse, ill will, anxieties, fear. These are things that dirty your mind. It makes you not comfortable. It makes you cannot sit, cannot sleep, cannot eat. It makes you uncomfortable. When you have all these dirts in your mind, only meditation. When you learn to recognize it, then you sweep it away from your mind. You simply say, let go, let go, let go. These are just dirts in the mind. Let it go.